The pleasure to finally make it onto the Conversation with Tony Mobley show. So, who am I? Well, I am a single child to begin with. I was born in Zambia, and I guess it gives me the taste of all worlds, so to speak, because I'm Indian by descent. However, living in Zambia, being born in Livingston, where you find Victoria Falls, it led me to a lot of fun explorations. As a kid, learning just mechanics of how vehicles worked, or help my dad fix a carburetor, to modern day technology. So a pencil is a piece of technology, right? I
Absolutely.
remember, I remember the red pencils that I had whole boxes of. No erasers, just a black top, paint a black little paint on it, and just a red pencils. And the fact that, back up a little. You may or may not know me from office hours or other places, but I have vision loss, right? And I'm open about it. I have to be. It's me. It's my life. I mean, eat, breathe. Hopefully, if you keep breathing, that's life, right? That's what they call life, and therefore, the technology bit kind of let me dive into what I already am and who I am. I'm a 38-year-old man from Africa, but has lived in America since 1994. So, with those kind of pieces of how and where I come from, the activities that I've gotten into over time. So, like in high school, I was really intrigued by music, and we had an amazing marching band. And with that led a program called ACMT, Academy of Multimedia and Technology. So I got to endure CCNA in its own facets. I got to play with Photoshop, Premiere, Illustrator. So, I've seen you around on the main show, the Office Hours show, but we wonder, why do we like these things and what makes us keep coming back? Uh, Other pieces of things that kind of interest me is just the sheer fact of, amongst technologies, it's the power of communication and community. I found that, as they say, kill them with kindness. That for me has gone so far. And at the end of the day, I mean, you have to live your life with all the adversities that you get put through. But, at the end of the day, you become a better person with that. And I think for me, the technology piece came because my parents, gave me the wealth of education, knowledge, and motivation, to say, hey, if you pay attention to this, you'll succeed in this. And, today, both of my parents have passed. Um, it it has made a new person, I guess, at this point. Um, I'm trying to find that person. So as we go along, I've noticed little traits about myself, such as advocacy. It doesn't matter, we're different people. I'm a young person, perhaps, to some of the audience members, and maybe I'm a middle aged man to another, and so on and so forth. But how do we, you know, talk or help each other out, or, advocate for each other? So we've had other members in our community come onto the show. I remember we had the poet, and that day I cried watching it. Right, I was on the other side of the screen. I remember episode 100 when Mickey and Liberty and Ken and it was with my mom the day before she went to the hospital. So who am I as a person? Is, hey, you know what? Tony is going through some things. My mom went through some things. Well, I was a caretaker. I was a son at the end of the day, but I had to learn different things about caretaking, or the system, so to speak, and to be careful with the amount of help that you receive, or don't bite off more than you could chew. So that's a little bit about me. But how about yourself, Tony? We've talked a little bit. Uh,
Well,
how are you?
let me reintroduce you because we had a little
Yes.
bit of a blurb at the beginning. So I just want to say I am having a conversation with Mr. Harshid Trivedi, who has graciously agreed to be on Conversation with Tony Mobley today. And we are on YouTube right now, and you can watch our show later on our website as well as YouTube. And you can ask questions right now if you go to the YouTube chat and look for the link for the Mukana chat. And there you can ask your questions and you can ask Harshid questions about the things that he's just shared. And I want to say a personal thank you for him sharing Conversation with Tony Mobley with his mom. And one of the things that was very encouraging to me in the very beginning of Conversation with Tony Mobley was that you would always reach out to me and tell me how your mother enjoyed Conversation with Tony Mobley, and that meant a lot to me. And so I wanted to say here and now, thank you so much for sharing Conversation with Tony Mobley, and also being so encouraging. You were extremely encouraging, and a lot of times you would share with me some of the things that your mom would say, and we would really get tickled. And so on behalf of myself and the team that's behind Conversation with Tony Mobley, we want to say thank you for allowing us to be a part of her life while she was here, and for you to be so gracious to share your time with her with us. And so again, we want to say thank you.
You're welcome, Tony, and thank you. I'm holding up actually her picture. Let's see if I could get it in front of the RE. Um,
Hmm.
if I'm holding it right in frame, so that was her. And as we talked about her, um, the reason why, as I mentioned, the caretaking part. Some days you feel good, don't feel good, but that 8 o'clock shows right now. So just hanging out and seeing that this is the talent or this is the capabilities we're about. We didn't play with cameras and video stuff and microphone like COVID. Thank you in a way, but other ways we've strengthened our communication. And for her to say, "Hey, I like watching that one show," so it's always encouraging to anyone in our community. It doesn't matter where you come from. Please, whatever you do, just put some mind to it. You never know what will come out for you with it.
Well, I want to again say thank you so much, and we need to get through the show, so we're going to try to get through some of these questions. What do people need to know about you? What do people need to know about you? But before you answer that question, I want to say something to you.
Sure.
Um, I want you to know that you look fantastic. Not only do you look fantastic, you sound fantastic. And so before we even get into what people need to know about you, I want you to talk a little bit about your setup and how you, as a person who has vision impairment, is able to set up such a good looking, good sounding setup.
Wow. I hope I make the audio gods happy today. I'm just kidding. So, as the journey went with COVID and what have you, I started off with a show out of actually Houston, Texas, which is called the iBug Android Insight Call. And my first microphone that I led into was a Samsung Q2U. It was a great little microphone. I was able to change the sound because I felt subconscious coming in with my laptop microphone into that meeting, and I felt the information I'm saying is important. So the Q2U started my journey, and then I figured, well, where do I want to go? So here in my hand is a SE Electronics V7 microphone. So it probably looks like a little strawberry top or what have you. It is XLR microphone. Now, we talked about interfaces and mixers and all these things. So it was a learning moment. And so I first started off with a Yamaha MG10XU mixer. It's down in the bag, a little bulky to pull it out. And it sounded great. It was just a microphone and a Q2U. And actually, I didn't even have a chair back then. I was sitting on my bed, and computer in front of me, and a microphone boom arm was pulled up to the bed and like by my mouth. And our great friend Mickey McAcher, who was on episode 100, was able to then frame me in for Zoom and or for our office hours calls in the morning, and that was like my vehicle. Right, sit in your car, turn on the engine, check your mirrors, check, make sure you have gas in the car, all that fun stuff. Just check your stuff. So that repetition led me to later on. Well, I need comfort. Steel case chair. Oh man, $800, thousand. Ooh, that's pricey. But where there's will and a way, if you pay monthly, however, it's comfort and it's longevity. So I actually have multiple sclerosis as well, and I felt, hey, this might be a better treatment for my body rather than making it achy and making my joints hurt early. The lighting, quite simple. They are all GE light bulbs. I have two on the left of me, two on the right of me, and then one sitting behind me at the lamp. You'll see the blue splash in the back end. The camera is a Bria webcam, 250, $200, I think, back then. Boom arm that I'm using is the Elgato low profile arm, the first generation. And then the interface that I then moved up to from the Yamaha was the solid state logic SSL2. Then running that through Mogami cables into a little mute switch that's sitting on the floor, so I could just step on it to on and off the mic. And then what you hear my voice through is the Electro Voice RE20.
Fantastic. It is fantastic. And based on what you're saying, it doesn't sound like you spent a whole lot of money, and yet you have this quality setup. So that should be encouraging to those who are watching and are trying to figure out this way of communicating through Zoom and other streaming platforms. So again, thank you so much for sharing that. So now let's get back to what do people need to know about you that they don't know.
Well, Tony, more recently, after all these thoughts and processes of where do I need to go, as I mentioned, I'm starting a new life at this point, alone in this world. So I thought, why not take what I know and put it to good use? So my mom, we just saw her. Her phrase used to be, "Who cares?" Who cares can go both ways. Like, who cares if I'm blind? Who cares if things happen? It builds us tough skin, so to speak. And so from that, I'm thinking about a YouTube channel. It's coming very, very soon. It's going to be called Who Cares? A11Y Bar. Well, let's unpack the second half of that name. A11Y, you may have seen it and plastered around, and if you're unaware of what the acronym means, is accessibility. Accessibility has 11 letters. So that's that A11Y piece. Let's go to the bar piece. Well, bar could be an adjective, a noun, a place, person, thing, kind of thing, right? And uh, it's more of an adjective because it's the blind accessible resource. I would say that would be me because I'm blind. I know about accessibility, so I might be able to access information for you or help you, and just to be a resource. As you said, I love encouraging people. It doesn't matter if I'm not winning that day, because in the long run, I'm on the show. I have all this community to thank, and if it wasn't for everybody, then I wouldn't be here.
Well, thank you so much again for being with me. We have a question from New Mexico, USA, and Clyde Lopez Waterman wants to know. He says, "Hi, Harshid. Can you tell us any stories about your travel this year? How was international travel in relations to accessibility?"
Yes, Tlaloc, and pleasure to see your name. I'll start it off with this year. I actually took a Sunrail train to Orlando and saw Tlaloc in person, so that's one minor way of traveling, let's just say. But accessibility, I would need paratransit. Now, when life came along, as my mom's ashes came on February 1st, I planned on traveling to India. So that was a situation of what documents do I need. I had an issue with my passport where they got the name wrong, and so I have it send it back, and dealing with online e-visas, which again, our community It's all about the community. Can't stress that enough. Was able to help me go through that process online and read through the website that was half in an accessible website, so to speak, even if though it's international. And therefore, from that point on, I took a wheelchair from Orlando straight to Dubai, Dubai to Ahmedabad. So there wasn't much in reference to being lost and such, but sitting in a wheelchair going through it was really quick and process was easy, easy to advocate. You know, it's not that I'm just blind. I'm not unable to walk or unable to walk, excuse me. But at the same time, you just want to make sure you advocate so people aren't thinking that they could walk all over you. So I kind of kept that first, my foot in front kind of thing about little situations that if they think that they could kind of do a quick one on me. And even on the way back, again, people are just kind. I had a gentleman was able to go grab me, you know, little snacks or anything else. I was on the inside seat. On the way there, I actually had a whole row to myself, so it was fantastic. Emirates Airlines was great. So, you know, international, anybody could fly and come around. I still encourage any person from any abilities, please travel. It's accessible. You know, you just get in a wheelchair or let them know you're in a wheelchair, or maybe you're using a cane or a guide dog. You'll have services. So if you do your research, it's pretty easy to travel.
Thank you so much for that. Um, let's talk a little bit more about accessibilities. What else do you want to share about that?
Absolutely. So, my concern is this much: we have so many tools, but maybe not enough people talking about it, or maybe not in a friendly way. And I think delivery is the most important key in most of our presentation. And being that I've been on office hours pretty much many days, I lost count, is you learn to find the easier way to explain something complex. So I use a screen reader. It's called JAWS. You might have heard of it from past episodes, but Job Access with Speech. It is also partnered up with another piece called Fusion, which is Zoom Text Fusion. And that magnifies my screen for me or changes the contrast. So I usually like black backgrounds with white font. And that just makes it easier for me to navigate if I wanted to use my eyes. But I've learned with speech that it becomes faster to just hear something. So I'm able to move about, you know, through Discord, or if I wanted to go to a website or anything like that. Matter of fact, if you wouldn't mind, I'll let you hear it
No,
real
I don't
quick.
mind.
All right, so
Please
here
share it.
comes.
Speaker slash headphones left.
Okay, so
Windows D. Desktop. Fold. Search box at G.
we
Google
will
enter.
just go to
Address
Google
and search bar edit.
and
Type in text. Control
wow,
plus L.
that must be a little fast for y'all. Sorry about that. My
Faster.
bad. My
Faster.
bad. Oh wait,
That's
wrong way.
fine.
Wrong way.
That's
Slower.
fine.
Slower.
Let's just keep
Slower.
it
Slower.
easy.
Slower.
Yeah, that's good enough. So
All
let's
D.
just see. We'll go to our friend, our good old.
O F F R C A O U O S. Office G L O B L.
Okay.
Global. Enter. Welcome to Office Hours Global, a global conversation where no one's left out. Dash Google Chrome.
Well,
Welcome to Office.
I don't mind her voice, but I got places to be. I got things to do. So I want to
Faster,
speed it up a
faster.
little. That's
Yes,
why.
we want to hear it at the rate
Welcome
that
to
you
Office Hours
hear it.
Global, a global
Right. So
conversation where
like
no one's left out.
the way my brain worked. I mean, beforehand, yeah, you hear word by word, but sooner or later you get tired of the gaps. So your value of how much you hear, you're not listening you're not listening to everything. You're listening for what you want to listen for. So let's just imagine I'm looking for join us. If I were to hit the letter U, it's for links that are unvisited.
Skip navigation link.
Okay.
Schedule link.
Skip.
About link. Join us link.
Okay. I saw that. I heard join us. So there are different keystrokes I could press to then
Enter.
hit
Welcome to
enter
Office
on
Hours
join
Global, a
us.
global conversation where no one's left out.
Now,
Link join us to
every
visit.
website or even applications like Discord have edit fields. So I could always hit like the letter E
Name left parent required right parent group. Space.
So,
Join our mailing list. Name left parent
to join the
required right
mailing
parent group.
list.
First edit.
You would put
Required.
your
Blank. Placeholder.
information
First.
here and
Type
so
in
on and
text.
so forth. So, with the screen reader coming in with office hours or coming into any of these shows, sometimes it's listening to somebody in your ears. So it might get, like you're talking to multiple people, but it's again, who are you listening to or what are you listening for? And I think that's the most important part. Sometimes, if you don't want it to talk as much, there are programs that speak less. I also teach again with Android stuff, so Select to Speak. Apple has a identical piece program like that. So with all these tools, I think I want to share it with accessibility needs. So the Who Cares A11Y bar is a great idea to at least put those videos out. It gives me, even with the audio video stuff, it gives me all these drawers to kind of tuck in the pieces of information. So that's a little bit of accessibility, but if you want to know more, keep asking questions.
All
Space.
right.
V.
We
Falsy.
have a question from Mr. Guy Cochran, and his question is, how will you share your talents to help others help others?
I think it's lead by example. So if one person knows how to use an application, you know, it's okay to give away what you've learned. It's free information, but they have to maybe push it on forward. But I think the only way we really build a momentum is if we're open with each other. If we think my methods are better than your methods, we're never going to be able to collaborate. And I think collaboration is a big key in this piece. Even with my abilities or disabilities, those are some of those things that I have to continuously remind people that I'm capable of doing a similar thing, but maybe just in a different way. So I think re-educating people on the processes, and then even the people that have learned those processes, to ensure that those processes were learned properly and people are treated with respect. I think a few of those traits can strengthen that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And Claudia Lopez Waterman is back from New Mexico, and his question is, should those of us with more vision use the word blind? Is there a better term?
Well, I think it's our personal choice of thinking about the word blind. I like to say just blind because it's a all-encompassing phrase or term or word, however you want to categorize it. Blindness is a spectrum, right, of blindness, because if you're colorblind, you might see and you might be able to drive. Well, you're not blind. And then some people might have photophobia and they can't deal with all the lights, and all these lights might really hurt their eyes, and they might be wearing sunglasses. So, people come from different avenues. Some have genetic issues from birth, or ROP, retinitis of prematurity, macular degeneration, what I have. So I think we have to be cognizant of those things.
Let me ask you this. I've been using the word visually impaired. Is that appropriate or not? I just want to make sure that is that
Well,
okay?
and again, this goes back to personal feelings. Some people think the word impaired. Well, are you driving, with alcohol in your system and you're impaired? You know what I mean? So like that vision part, I would say vision law. We learned this on office hours during the accessibility Saturdays. So a quick plug there. Even if you go to Google and type in Office Hours Global Accessibility, I actually have the playlist of all the 10 videos that we did then. And that the factor of vision loss, right? The word loss just makes it easier to explain. Um, and blindness is not a bad word. I mean, I am blind to just make it easy. I'm low vision, right? That's my spectrum. I'm very low vision probably now than I was prior. Uh, and now I'm so used to the tools. I'm used to a screen reader. So why bother with straining my sight? So it's your own feeling in that. Whenever you're in it in that moment. If you don't mind, and the word again, who cares? Who cares what people think? Then I'm blind. Who cares? It is the fact of life, but I have tools. I have a cane. I could ask, hey, may I borrow your elbow? Right? Because if you borrow someone's elbow, it's easier to walk with. If I grab your wrist or your hand, okay, two people and I have your hand, and then the pole comes to the left and there's no pole in front of you, bam, ouch. At least with your elbow, your body's moving with the way your body's is gliding left or right, and your elbow is giving that signal. So grabbing somebody's elbow, for example, it could be a tool, and sometimes it's okay to ask for help. And then for other factors, Laura, for example, we've talked about it that I should maybe even get a guide dog. Again, guide dogs are great because you could get them for free technically. You could also get all the help that you need to get it, veterinarian and all that. So it's the decisions that we have to make. If we just say we're blind and we still have a good amount of vision, that's fine. But you should be able to do stuff manually. So you should be able to walk with a cane. You should be able to, conduct life without the extra tools. But then if you need the tools, they're available for you.
Thank you. And since you brought up Laura Thompson, we have a question from Laura Thompson. What is your best suggestion for fostering a better understanding for the public at large?
Think like the public. Why make everything different, right? Because we have to level the playing field, so to speak. Sometimes I think when people, they'll be watching this and seeing, hey, I'll say it, how did that blind guy get on that show with that microphone and the audio and the video and the light, work on it, right? I had other members of the community that said, hey, use a string and tie the string to one side of the desk and the other, and then use that to find your center. That was clever, right? Just using common little things around your environment. So I think that fostering, that is to work along the same playing field, and then fix the stuff that is missing in between. Don't overdo it, like overcompensating to help a blind person. Treat them like a human being, because that's what we are. That's all what we are. So let's go baseline and then work from there with what we need in addition.
What I'm hearing from you is that you're invested in being good or being better, doing what you need to do to get done what you need to get done.
Yes. I never looked at it that way, Tony.
Well, the reason I say that is because, it takes effort for you to look as good as you look. And as a person who, I probably get on some people's nerves in my community about, pushing the envelope of wanting people to get better, to do better, to present their best self. And so I am encouraged by the fact that you have invested so much in wanting to present yourself in such a way that people should feel, I'm going to say it this way, some kind of way that they're not presenting their best self. And I think that's important. I think that's an important lesson.
And
if
as you brought that up, showing your failures or showing that you're human, right? I think that's important because sometimes you will fail. I mean, my college journey was not easy, and we didn't have this ease of AI to convert OCR text, right? So like little things like that, when we look at what we've gone through as a society, definitely there are pieces that I mean, as I said, it's tougher skin, but sometimes it's reminding others that you have it in you. We forget that as just people. When I first met you and, we talked about basketball, and I was thinking about Dr. J and all these stories, and the stories came from just life. It was stories from the motel that we owned in Daytona Beach, now is Destination Daytona, but our desk clerk, he would tell me all these stories, and you learn from others. I think that's the most important piece, that these stories bring us together, and then we learn how to adapt to those environments or situations. So I think some of those pieces are really important, is that we still will keep together and show that, as I respect you, you respect me, and if to earn respect, you have to give respect. When we talked about the House of Worship in the past, Miss Patsy Willis was a name that came to mind, but it was for the fact that, hey, this woman, you mentioned something about making it better for others to receive your program. And it just made me think, like, hey, if I'm blind, how would that make me feel if I'm not receiving the whole program or that whole feeling, that whole experience? So it's not about that you're lacking in your experience in your show. It's just how can we bring it to others. So it's to be creative along the sides of how do we take some of these common, everyday things and bring it to other people, because we forget that we do similar things. We might like the movies, we might like music, we might like, different foods. And so we have to kind of find a happy place with humankind.
And since you brought up Minister Patsy Willis, I'm going to go ahead and give the whole spiel. So, Minister Patsy Willis is the senior pastor and founder of Miracle Bible Way Church, Macon, Georgia. And you have asked a lot of questions about our worship services and the things that we're doing and how we need to be sensitive to people who are participating in our worship services online. And I thank you for those comments and questions. And I think it has made a difference. We are participating on YouTube, and we are continuing to have virtual services, but we are in the process. Miracle Bible Way is in the process of building a building, and we're looking forward to the building being built very soon. And we anticipate continuing to do a hybrid worship service. So I just wanted to share that with you as well
Thank you.
as
Thank you.
the Miracle Bible Way members that may be listening, that the word is getting out, and
Right.
this gentleman has traveled from Florida to India to Africa, and he knows about Miracle Bible Way Church in Macon, Georgia. So
I
we
used to live
just
in
want to
Albany and Brunswick, Georgia, by the way, there, Mr.
all
Tony.
right, all right. You heard
Okay.
that. He lived in Albany for a little while,
Yes.
or as they say, Albany.
Uh-huh.
So,
1994, the floods, if you ever remember reading about them.
oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
First
yes,
floods I've seen
yes.
in America. Welcome to
All
America.
right. We're back to let's talk more about your planning and preparation for what you are able to do. So you touched on a lot of different things. You know what? Let's curtail that question because you kind of dealt with it already. We have a question from Robert Soji of Los Angeles, and his question is, Harshid, how do you maintain your positive outlook on life despite your physical challenges?
Uh, as thank you, Robert, for the question there, and I think it's just being selfless, right? Yes, I have these disabilities that have come to me, but it's not something that I've asked for. So you have to live through whatever it is and progress with it, right? And I think for me, it's not about staying. I mean, after my mom and dad passed away, it was really rough, and it still is really, really rough because it's again finding my purpose in life. We could talk in different languages, and the term pretty much means the same. So for me, I think it's being selfless, and I think Tony, you and I share that trait as well with a lot of things that you're doing. Is we're selfless in the way we give to the audience, to the people, to our churches, to our community. And again, I don't look for anything, I don't expect anything back. I mean, if the channel goes and does well, great. But I have knowledge in some of these places, so why not share? It's free information that's useless in my brain, so why not put it out there where it could be actually useful?
You know, and I just want to add too that I know that losing your mother is very fresh, but I want to share this with you. So when my mother passed, it's when my mother passed, I was a person who lived in a totally different town. My parents lived in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, and I lived south of the city. But I would see them at least two, three, sometimes four times a week. And this was every week. And when my mother passed, In a sense, I lost my father too. And the reason why I say it like that is because my father, um, when you're seeing your parents every single day and then you go to a place of not seeing them at all, it kind of throws you. And what happened was my father went to live with my sister, who at the time was living in Missouri. And so he left and, he moved to live with her. And it was like I lost both of them at the same time. And, I did, have occasion to, visit and see my father several times before he passed. But it was, you go from something that you do almost every day
Right.
to not at all, and it affects you. But
Hmm.
what I say all that to say that things get better.
Right.
You don't stop missing them,
Correct.
but things get better. And I just wanted to encourage you to
And
say
and to give
things get better.
even to give a little bit more back end story from me. So 2003 is when I lost my father, and so being in this country from 1994 to 2003, it's what been 30 years, 31 years going on, I think, at this point for me being out here, and that's the process of it. I mean, being in the hospitality industry for that many years, customer service. So those little bit of things you pick up along the way with being in Daytona Beach with NASCAR, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, spring breaks, BCR, Black College Reunion. So, there's a lot of things of experience to gather and gain from, but it's what you gain, from even their hardships. And they're always trying to tell your kids to better their lives, right? So sometimes just listening to our elders, our family, our grandparents, and you know, I think those pieces are really important. And like here, for example, is both of them. Oh, sorry about that. So here's both of them, if I have it framed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And
You do?
so just to not forget where you come from, because yes, life will go on for me. Hope I don't know about marriage. I'll leave it open to God. If someone partner shows up, then show respect and kindness. And it's a struggle as all life is, but the struggle is easier with two people. So wherever destiny takes me, so be it. But at this time is just to, I think, just to be able to give to people, because I have the ability to still give to people. Why not, utilize that piece there?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Are there any projects that you can talk about besides, well, including bar?
Well, I want to actually just, you know, the ideas are all lined up in the brain. I have some interesting cabinetry work in my brain, but how do I make it alive is the issue. So, with editing, my eyes aren't the same anymore. So Premiere and me probably aren't the greatest of friends. Funding has always been difficult. So, yes, go get a Mac. It's $500, 400, 599 for a Mac Mini, but affordability is one thing in its own. Uh, I'm grateful. I'm always grateful because of every little piece that I've earned and got along the way. Was somebody looking out for me, the man above. And it could be that even with my laptop, Division of Blind Services, for state agencies out here, thank you. I thank, my past experiences at Lighthouse Central Florida in Orlando, Conklin Davis Center out here. You all have sent CVI. We used to have it a CVI here, but y'all still have one in Atlanta, Macon area, I think, Center for the Visually Impaired. So, just being grateful and thankful, I think is another piece there.
I want to share this with you before we get to Robert Soji's question. Um, when I came to Atlanta and went to Morehouse, and I graduated, I became a member of Zion Hill Baptist Church in the city of Atlanta. And at the time, it was pastored by Larry Williams and later my professor, Dr. Aaron L. Parker. But I want to let you know that my mentor, one of my mentors, was a man named Haskell Murray. And he was a graduate of the Georgia Academy of Blindness in Georgia. And there was absolutely nothing he could not do. He was a church musician, choir director, minister, preacher. I mean, there was nothing he could not do. There was no place he could not go. He had me going with him down in the countrysides of Georgia and just telling me what how to drive. I mean, I was driving him. He, his wife had a car,
Right.
um, and he had me driving him around. And he was giving me the directions. And this was before we had all of the technology and stuff. So let I just wanted to share that with you because he was absolutely amazing. He was, I guess, and I don't even want to minimize him by saying this, but I would say he was an older Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles, if you want to compare him that way. But
Right.
there was nothing that he could not do.
You know what's
And
interesting? Next time you come out to Orlando or Central Florida area, let me know. Orlando, I know a little bit better as maps and drive you around there, kind of thing, or give you the directions. What kind of makes me laugh about that is when seeing Tlaloc in January. Hey, go this way, Tlaloc. Go take this highway. It's like so. I could take you to around. I mean, Daytona, I still know it, but some of the structures have changed. I mean, Daytona's this whole area is like a grid. So Ormond Beach, Daytona, South Daytona, Port Orange, and so on. New Smyrna, I think, is at the end. So it's like a grid checker box, but there are a couple cities out here that are like Spaghetti Junction where, yeah, you might get lost.
well, what's so funny about that is that most of my family is actually from, on my father's side, they're from Florida. I have a lot of relatives that live in Orlando proper, and I have two siblings that are now living in Florida, and one is in Fort Myers, and the other one is in outside of Tampa, and I can't
Man,
think of the
Tony,
name
we,
of
we
the
go
location.
back, don't we? I remember you had your whole family on the show, and that was one of my favorite shows. I don't know, it's just everybody's so laid back, and then you said like one of your brothers went into being a creator or doing creating things. So yeah, always loved
All
watching
right.
the show too.
Robert Soji's question. Hershid, I'm sorry to hear you lost your parents at such a young age. How are you doing today?
So today, I guess they say time is kind of the healing factor and knowledge of what you've known. So I think the fear in most of us is, are we going to forget? And are we going to forget what they taught us because of something new that we've learned? So, I think our brain has a pretty large hard drive up there, and it might be okay to let go some of the past, but never forget where you come from. I think is my main concern of life. Um, the values being again culturally, I am Hindu. Um, my name means the knowledge knower of three Vedas. So if you know the Vedas, try is three. So it's like little pieces of me internally. I kind of lean back into where did I come from? Where did my ancestries come from? And then where am I today? And the gratefulness that I have that I'm in America, thanks to my family members, one that lives in Pittsburgh, my mom's eldest brother, and how can I make change with what I have? I mean, every place on this earth is a wonderful place as long as you're alive. But to be alive is to live, and you got to go through life. And if it's an adversity of coldness in Antarctica, if it's being in the Amazon jungle, it's finding how can you survive. And I think that's where I'm in seek of is the survivability of what's going to come next.
Thank you, sir, so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Soji, for that question. What is next for Harshid Trivedi?
Well, wow. More office hours? No, of course, more office hours. Just because I love my community. I love new people I meet. We hang out in after hours and we just come up with ideas. And again, this Who Cares A11Y bar came from conversations with other members of the community that actually care about what I was feeling, what I was going through. So, it's from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for, treating me like an actual human being and caring for me. And hopefully I could take of what I've known, take the knowledge, take different aspects of how I could reach different methods of content or whatever people are trying to learn, and convert that into something that's valuable to them, because I just want to feel valuable to anybody else. If it's a partner, if it's your um, company that you work for, or your audience, your community, I think finding value or just be valuable, I think that's the main goal here. So I hope Who Cares A11Y Bar succeeds in its own ways. I'm open to ideas. Uh, Once I could figure out a rhythm, a workflow of editing, trying not to go with the AI stuff, trying to be realistic and do it the hard way. But that's how we become tougher and learn. If we just do it easily and cut corners, we're never going to learn. So it's okay to put ourselves through it, a little bit of adversity. And if the outcome is not going to be a good result, that's fine. There's always room to pivot. And at this point, I guess I'm pivoting from the pain, the loss, and hopefully some success is ahead.
Well, I want to share that if you have an opportunity, and I'm speaking to everyone who might be watching or listening, if you have an opportunity to participate in office hours, it meets daily for 1 hour, and it's Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday it does meet, but you have to actually subscribe to participate in that. The reason I bring it up is because Harshid participates almost every day, and he is a contributor. He has a lot of knowledge that he is sharing with these video professionals. So if you want to see him in action, check out office hours. He'll be on there, and I guarantee you he will give you some information that will be beneficial and helpful. And now we're down to our last question.
Yes, sir.
You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
Well, world, one thing is one thing. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We've all gone through different, tragedies and successes in life. Sometimes you become a better person with those tragedies and earning that success. But remember, just work through things. You have to earn what you get. And life is nothing less than earning what you should keep. Being kind to each other, giving each other either that time, respect, or even that time of conversation. You never know, that one phone call to a person might change their trajectory of life. So remember to treat each other with that respect, and remember to take care of each other, because sometimes we forget where we come from. And a simple conversation with someone like this today, a simple email, it could be even a handwritten letter, right? And sometimes you never know how much that impact may make that person feel. It has made me feel, in so many different ways of impact of just people caring about what I want to do in my life. And it gives me that hope. And I think hope is what we all should deserve. And we will move on with any pain that we have had in our past. But the only way to live our future is to live presently in the best shape way possible, because we don't know the future. Nobody knows it. If we did, then we would be all rich, and we're not. We have to struggle through what we earn, and that struggle is life itself. So at the end of the day, be successful by simple things, and be happy because you still have earth, wind, fire, all these old things around you. Whenever you're cold, you make a campfire, you could have marshmallows. You singing music, it's going to make you happy. That painted a picture for you right there for a minute. You could be in a rainstorm, right, and dance in the rain. So paint the picture you want to paint for yourself, and be happy with the successes that you're succeeding with every single day.
Thank you so much for your encouraging words. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by valued audiovisual professionals who meet daily in Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. Thank you, Mimo Live. We have conversations with real people. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We have over 100+ episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. When you have a chance, we ask that you go back and look. And at some of those conversations, you might find something that is beneficial or helpful to you. We want to thank Harshid for being with us today and for being a part of the conversation today, for doing the work that he does, and for being the person who he is. And we ask that you please stay tuned for the next conversation with Tony Mobley. Take care. God bless. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Tony Mobley.